In the far reaches of the Deciphering belt, a minor planetoid named Grell spun lazily, bathed in the faint glow of a distant sun. The terrain was rugged, covered in craters and dust that had settled over eons untouched by wind or water. It was here, in the shadow of a towering ridge, that the crew of the salvage ship Rusty Venture found something unexpected. Captain Leah Hawk Maddox was the first to spot it. As her team maneuvered their rover through a field of space debris, her sharp eyes caught a glimpse of movement. "Hold up!" she commanded, her voice crackling through the comms. The rover ground to a halt, stirring a cloud of gray dust. "What is it, Cap?" asked her second-in-command, Jonas Flint, peering into the haze. "Thought I saw something move," Hawk replied, unbuckling her harness. She grabbed her helmet from the rack beside her and secured it on, the hiss of the seal confirming its lock. Stepping off the rover, she felt the crunch of Grell's surface under her boots. The crew watched in silence as she approached the source of the movement. There, amidst a pile of rubble from a long-forgotten outpost, was a small, furry creature. It was barely visible, its coat a matted blend of grays and whites, almost like it was part of the landscape itself. "Sweet stars, it's a living thing!" exclaimed Flint, following Hawk. The rest of the crew gathered around, their curiosity piqued. The creature was shivering, its eyes wide and luminous. It was unlike any species recorded in the Galactic Federation's archives. Small, with oversized ears and a snout that reminded Hawk of Terran canines, it whimpered softly as the humans loomed over it. "We can't just leave it here," Hawk stated, her voice softening. "It needs help." "But Cap, our mission," Flint began, hesitant. "I know the mission, Flint, but look at it. It won't survive out here." She cut him off, her decision final. With careful hands, she scooped up the alien puppy. It was lighter than it looked, its body trembling in her grasp. Back on the Rusty Venture, the creature became the center of attention. Hawk named it Dusty, inspired by the planetoid's endless dunes. The ship's medic, Dr. Alara Singh, examined Dusty and confirmed that despite its alien anatomy, it shared many characteristics with Earth's mammals. "We need to feed it, keep it warm," Dr. Singh advised. "It's dehydrated but should recover with proper care." As days turned into weeks, Dusty grew healthier and more playful, bounding around the ship with clumsy enthusiasm. Its presence brought a new light to the crew, a welcome distraction from the monotony of space travel. One evening, as Hawk reviewed the day's logs in the cockpit, Dusty hopped onto her lap, curling into a ball. She stroked its soft fur, pondering the mystery of its existence. How had such a creature come to be on a desolate planetoid? And why was it abandoned? These questions lingered in her mind as the stars outside the viewport blinked indifferently. Little did she know, Dusty's arrival was just the beginning of a much larger story, one that would challenge their understanding of life in the cosmos. As Hawk set the course for their next destination, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. Saving Dusty hadn't just been a rescue, it was a call to something greater, a reminder that in the vast, often cold universe there were still discoveries waiting, still lives to be touched. And so, with the stars as their guide, the crew of the Rusty Venture continued their journey. The little alien puppy, now an integral part of their team, a symbol of their humanity in the uncharted reaches of space. As the Rusty Venture glided through the cosmic sea, a peculiar transmission intercepted the ship's aging communication system. The signal was weak, riddled with static, but amidst the noise, a pattern emerged. A distress call, not registered in any Federation database, originating from a nearby uncharted sector. Curious and ever vigilant, Hawk decided to alter their course. "Flint, set coordinates for the signal origin. Let's check this out." The crew exchanged wary glances but followed their captain's orders. Their new path took them through a nebula where swirling gases painted ghostly figures against the void. As they approached the source of the distress call, the outline of a derelict station appeared, clinging to an asteroid like a barnacle to a ship's hull. "I've never seen architecture like this," muttered Flint, scanning the structure. It bore no markings, its design unfamiliar and strangely organic, with curved surfaces and asymmetric portals. Hawk led a small team aboard the station, with Dusty tucked safely in a makeshift pouch. The air inside was stale, heavy with the scent of ozone and decay. They moved cautiously, their lights piercing the darkness. In what appeared to be the control room, they found the source of the transmission, a console blinking sporadically, its screen cracked. Ilara examined the device, her fingers dancing over the alien keys, coaxing information from its depths. "This place, it's a research facility," she announced, her voice echoing slightly. "And it looks like they were studying something they shouldn't have." The walls were lined with containment units, many shattered, others still sealed. Inside one, a creature similar to Dusty but larger, with sharper features, paced restlessly. Hawk approached the glass, her reflection mingling with the creature's form. It stopped, its gaze locking with hers, intelligence and fear mingling in its eyes. "Captain, look at this," Flint called from across the room. He held up a datapad, its screen flickering to life under his touch. The log entries were fragmented, but enough remained to paint a grim picture. The researchers had been bioengineering native species, enhancing them, trying to create something new, something controllable. But their creations had turned on them, leading to chaos and abandonment. This wasn't just a research station, it was a breeding ground, Hawk concluded, her mind racing. And they left these creatures here to die. The decision of what to do next weighed heavily on her. They couldn't bring another potentially dangerous creature aboard the Rusty Venture, but leaving it seemed just as cruel. As they debated, Dusty, who had been unusually quiet, stirred. It approached the glass, its movements tentative. The creature inside responded, their interactions gentle, curious. "Seems like they understand each other," Dr. Singh observed, her voice soft. "Maybe that's the key," Hawk mused. "Maybe Dusty can help us communicate with it, understand it better." With a new plan forming, they prepared to integrate this new knowledge into their mission. The station held more secrets, more data that could help them understand not only the creatures, but also the potential for life forms across galaxies. Their role as salvagers suddenly expanded into protectors, custodians of the unknown. Back aboard the ship, Hawk watched the stars blur as they resumed their travels, the two alien creatures slowly forging a bond that might one day bridge the gap between their species. In the vast, echoing silence of space, the Rusty Venture carried its crew and their unexpected charges deeper into the unknown, each star a beacon on their uncharted path. The cargo bay of the Rusty Venture had been hastily converted into a makeshift sanctuary for their new companion, whom the crew affectionately named Echo. Echo's presence aboard the ship added a layer of complexity to their mission, and Hawk found herself wrestling with the ethics of their choices daily. As the ship sailed through a dense asteroid field, the crew's attention shifted from interspecies diplomacy to the more immediate concerns of navigation. "Steady as she goes, Flint. Keep us clear of the larger masses," Hawk instructed, her eyes fixed on the radar screen that blipped incessantly as space rocks drifted dangerously close. Meanwhile, in the sanctuary, Dusty and Echo continued to exhibit an extraordinary level of understanding towards each other. Their interactions were not merely playful. They seemed to be communicating, sharing information through a series of sounds and gestures that Dr. Singh attempted to decipher. "It's like they have their own language," Dr. Singh noted, her voice filled with wonder. She had set up recording equipment to capture every chirp, growl, and whine, hoping to break down the sounds into comprehensible data. "If we can crack this, we might be able to understand not only their needs, but possibly their thoughts and emotions as well." The breakthrough came unexpectedly. While reviewing the audio recordings, a distinct pattern emerged, a sequence that repeated whenever Dusty and Echo seemed to be in agreement, or when they alerted each other to new stimuli. "They're using a form of tonal signaling," Dr. Singh explained to Hawk and the crew. "Each tone corresponds to a specific message. It's sophisticated, intricate." Equipped with this new understanding, the crew attempted to replicate the sounds using the ship's audio system. The initial results were clumsy, often eliciting confused stares from Dusty and Echo. But as they refined the tones based on Dr. Singh's analysis, they started to see responses that indicated comprehension. Amidst these scientific endeavors, the ship received another anomalous signal, This time not a distress call, but a series of structured, rhythmic pulses that seemed almost musical. "It's coming from that derelict station orbiting Cygnus X1, Flint reported, pulling up the coordinates. Hawk decided to investigate, driven by a mixture of curiosity and an emerging duty to understand the broader implications of their findings. As they approached the station, the pulses grew stronger, more insistent. Docking with the station was risky. The structure was unstable, damaged by some ancient catastrophe. The team suited up, moving through the airlock with cautious steps. Inside, the station was dark, the only light coming from their suit lamps, which sliced through the gloom like blades. They followed the source of the signals to a central chamber, where they found an astonishing scene. A vast, wall-spanning installation of alien technology that pulsed with light, each beat syncing with the pulses they had heard. "It's a beacon," Hawk realized, her voice barely above a whisper. But who were they calling to? Exploring further, they discovered logs indicating that the station had been part of a network, a communication relay between distant worlds, possibly built by the same beings who had created Echo's species. The implications were staggering. This was not merely a local phenomenon, but a galactic-scale civilization, now possibly extinct or in hiding. As they returned to the ship, minds abuzz with the day's discoveries, Hawk looked at Echo and Dusty, now seen in a new light. They were not just survivors, but possibly the last links to an advanced civilization, bearers of secrets that could reshape understanding of life in the universe. With each step into the unknown, the crew of the Rusty Venture found not only new mysteries, but also new responsibilities. They were no longer just scavengers of derelict tech. They were guardians of a legacy stretching across the stars. And as they set their course toward the next anomaly, each member of the crew felt the weight of history whispering through the void, calling to them like a siren song of the cosmos. In the dim light of the Rusty Venture's control room, Hawk reviewed the data streams flowing in from their last expedition. The implications of the beacon and the alien communication network were profound, demanding a shift in their mission parameters. "We need to understand this network, how extensive it is, and what its purpose might have been," she mused aloud, her voice threading through the hum of the ship's engines. The crew's next target was a coordinate set that appeared repeatedly in the station's logs, likely a node or hub in the ancient network. As they approached the coordinates, the space around them began to warp subtly, starlight bending around invisible forces. "Gravitational anomalies ahead," Flint warned, his eyes locked on the navigation panel. "Could be a sign of artificial structures or something else." The Rusty Venture slowed to a cautious crawl as they entered a region where space itself seemed folded, like layers of cloth bunched together. Sensors picked up traces of exotic materials, not recorded in any standard database, which lined a corridor leading towards a massive structure partially hidden in the shadow of a dead star. This structure, unlike the previous stations, was intact, a colossal sphere of dark metal and pulsating lights. It hung silent in the void, an orb of unknowable purpose and design. "It's active," Dr. Singh observed, studying the energy patterns emanating from the sphere. "There might still be something, or someone, operational inside." The decision to board the structure was not taken lightly. Preparations included enhancements to their communication gear, incorporating the tonal signals that Dusty and Echo responded to. The hope was that these sounds might serve as a bridge between themselves and whatever intelligence might await them. Once inside, the interior of the sphere was labyrinthine, corridors and chambers unfolding in complex, non-linear patterns. The walls were embedded with panels of light and shadow, each pulse seeming to breathe life into the structure. Echo became visibly agitated, pulling at the lead Dr. Singh held. They followed the creature to a central chamber where a vast holographic display illuminated the darkness. It depicted stars, planets, and lines that might be routes or connections between various points in the galaxy. Suddenly, the chamber came alive with a low hum. Figures began to materialize around them, holographic projections of beings that were similar in form to Echo, but varied in features and size. They were surrounded by what appeared to be a council of specters, echoes of a once mighty civilization. One of the figures stepped forward, its form clearer and more detailed, emitting a series of tones. Dusty responded immediately, and a bizarre but awe-inspiring dialogue unfolded between the ship's alien pet and the hologram. Dr. Singh, quick to adapt the ship's audio to interface with her recordings of Dusty and Echo, facilitated a real-time translation. The holographic being identified itself as a custodian, part of a network designed to preserve the knowledge and culture of its creators, now long vanished. The purpose of this network was not just communication, but preservation, the custodian explained through the makeshift translator. We were left here to guard the legacy until those worthy to inherit it could be found. As the custodian spoke, images flickered across the display, scenes of their creators, a vibrant society brought low by a cosmic calamity, their last act to seed these repositories in hopes of a future rediscovery. Hawk and her crew were that rediscovery, the unintended inheritors of a galactic testament. The custodian offered them access to the archives, a treasure trove of knowledge spanning science, history, and technology far beyond human understanding. With each revelation, the crew's mission transformed from salvage and survival to something grander. As custodians of this newfound knowledge, they faced new challenges and responsibilities. The universe had opened its vaults to them, and in turn, they would need to decide how to share this legacy with the Federation and the wider galaxy. As they left the sphere, heading back to their ship, the weight of their new role settled on each member. They were no longer merely passengers and petty traders, but bearers of a torch that could illuminate dark corners of the universe, or, if mishandled, consume them in its brilliance. The return to the rusty venture was silent, each crew member lost in thought, grappling with the enormity of their discovery. Hawk was the first to break the quiet, her voice resolute. "We need a plan. We can't just keep this to ourselves, it's too important. But we also need to ensure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands." As they set course back towards Federation space, the debate over their next steps continued. "We could go to the Scientific Council," Flint suggested, adjusting the ship's trajectory to avoid a drifting comet. "They have protocols for this kind of thing." "But those protocols usually involve military oversight, don't they?" Dr. Singh countered, her brow furrowed in concern. "This knowledge could be used to build weapons or to dominate entire sectors." Hawk nodded, weighing each argument. "We keep this quiet until we can guarantee it won't be misused. For now, let's focus on understanding what we've got. Dr. Singh, continue working with Dusty and Echo to translate the archives. Flint, make sure our tracks are covered. No leaks." The crew delved into the data with guarded optimism. Each archive unlocked by Dusty and Echo through their unique communication revealed layers of information about advanced energy systems, faster-than-light travel, even theories on manipulating space-time. The scientific windfall was staggering, potentially revolutionizing space travel and energy use across the Federation. However, their progress did not go unnoticed. A trail of subtle clues suggested that someone else was aware of their activities. Small discrepancies in their navigation logs, unexpected system checks from Federation outposts. They were being watched. "The question is who?" Hawk pondered, staring at the star-studded blackness beyond the viewport. "Could be pirates, could be privateers, or it could be the Federation itself." Their suspicions were confirmed when an unmarked cruiser appeared on their sensors, shadowing them at a cautious distance. "Looks like we've caught someone's interest," Flint remarked dryly, monitoring the cruiser's movements. "We need to lose them," Hawk decided. "Prepare for a micro-jump. We'll pop out in the Oort cloud of the Helion system. It's dense enough to hide in, and we can use the ice bodies to mask our signature." The maneuver was risky, requiring precise calculations to avoid catastrophic collisions. As Flint programmed the jump, Dr. Singh and the rest of the crew secured themselves and the precious archives. With a deep breath, Hawk initiated the sequence. Space bent around the rusty venture, the stars stretching into lines as they slipped momentarily out of normal space. The ship shuddered as it re-emerged in the Helion system, ice comets and debris swirling around them. "We're clear of the cruiser," But it won't be long before they pick up our trail again, Flint reported, scanning the system. We need a more permanent solution. Hawk agreed. We use what we've learned. If these archives contain tech that can help us hide or even create decoys, we implement it. Our survival depends on staying one step ahead. Dr. Singh pulled up the relevant data from the archives. There's a cloaking technology here, based on bending light and radar. It's theoretical, but I think I can rig something up with what we have. As she set to work, Hawk reflected on their journey. Each decision now carried the weight of potential historical impact. The knowledge they carried was a beacon, one that could either save or doom civilizations depending on how it was wielded. Meanwhile, Echo and Dusty seemed oblivious to the dangers, their interactions a reminder of the simpler bond that had started this entire odyssey. Their innocence was a stark contrast to the gravity of the crew's choices, serving as a reminder of what was at stake, the possibility not just of progress, but of peace and understanding across the stars. As Dr. Singh worked on the cloaking device, Hawk watched the stars and prepared for the challenges ahead. They were in uncharted territory, both literally and metaphorically, and the path they chose would shape the fate of many worlds. With Dr. Singh's makeshift cloaking device installed, the rusty venture slid through the cosmos shrouded in invisibility, bending light and sensors away from its hull. The technology, though untested and jury-rigged from ancient schematics, provided them with a much-needed veil of secrecy as they navigated through contested sectors towards a safe haven. Hawk had chosen an abandoned outpost on the edge of the Garnet Expanse, a region known for its stellar nurseries and chaotic asteroid fields. The outpost, a relic of a bygone mining boom, offered not only seclusion but also a chance to regroup and plan their next move. Upon arrival, Flint and the engineering team set about reinforcing the outpost's defunct systems, restoring power and defenses. The outpost's skeletal structure groaned back to life under their care, its corridors echoing once again with the footsteps of its temporary inhabitants. Inside the makeshift lab, Dr. Singh and her assistant Mira worked tirelessly to decode more of the archives. Their latest discovery was a series of algorithms that could potentially allow them to manipulate gravitational fields, a concept that, if realized, could revolutionize space travel and create defensive technologies far beyond current Federation capabilities. We need to test these theories, but carefully, Dr. Singh cautioned, her eyes alight with both excitement and concern. The potential for catastrophe is high if we miscalculate the field's parameters. As the crew immersed themselves in their work, Dusty and Echo became more than just test subjects. They were companions, their comfort with the crew growing as they too seemed to sense the safety the outpost offered. Their play in the zero-gravity sections of the outpost provided much-needed relief from the tension that hung over the crew. Meanwhile, Hawk sat in her makeshift office staring at a star chart, plotting a course not just through space but through a web of political intrigue. Her communicator beeped, a secure line from an old contact within the Federation, Commander Tyrell. "Hawk, I know you're out there." Tyrell's voice was low, cautious. "And I know what you found. You're in more danger than you realize, not just from the Federation but from others who've caught wind of your discovery." His words were a cold splash of reality. "We're not equipped to handle this level of interest, Tyrell. We need an ally," Hawk replied, her voice steady despite the rising unease. "I can offer you some protection, but in return, you need to share what you've learned. The Federation isn't the enemy, Hawk. We can safeguard this technology, use it responsibly," Tyrell argued, his tone earnest. The offer was tempting. Hawk knew the weight of what they carried could crush them if they tried to shoulder it alone. Yet trust was a commodity as rare as the knowledge they possessed. "I need guarantees, Tyrell. Safeguards against misuse. And I need them in writing, signed by the High Council," Hawk demanded, not willing to compromise on the security measures that would dictate the fate of their discovery. "I'll see what I can do," Tyrell responded, his voice heavy with the burden of his promise. As the connection ended, Hawk leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. The decision to collaborate with the Federation was fraught with peril, but so was every other option. Striking a balance between safeguarding the technology and ensuring it was used for the benefit of all was a tightrope walk she had to master. Outside, the cosmos sprawled in silent judgment, stars watching like distant eyes. Inside, the crew of the rusty venture prepared for what might come next, their resolve hardened by the knowledge that their actions would echo across the galaxy, shaping futures they could scarcely imagine. As they fortified their refuge and honed their understanding of the ancient technologies, they became not just survivors, but pioneers on the frontier of a new era. As the rusty venture nestled in the shadow of the abandoned outpost, the precarious balance between secrecy and discovery grew ever more tenuous. Hawk's negotiations with Commander Tyrell progressed, but each transmission was a tightrope of diplomacy and strategy, fraught with the potential for betrayal. In the heart of the outpost, the crew pressed on with their experiments. The gravitational manipulation technology they had uncovered from the archives was nearing a functional prototype. Dr. Singh, meticulous and thorough, oversaw every test, ensuring that even the smallest variables were controlled. The power to bend gravitational fields could be revolutionary, allowing for defensive measures that could shield entire planets or propulsion systems that could traverse the galaxy in fractions of the current travel times. As the testing phase commenced, a palpable tension filled the lab. The device, a complex arrangement of alien alloys and circuitry, hummed to life, casting a pale blue light across the faces of those watching. Flint, always the skeptic, kept his hand near the emergency shutdown, ready to act at the first sign of instability. The initial tests were small-scale, bending light around a single atom, then a molecule. When they successfully cloaked a small drone, making it invisible to both the eye and sensors, the team let out a collective breath they hadn't realized they were holding. Meanwhile, Echo and Dusty seemed to sense the importance of the tests. They watched intently, their heads tilting in unison, as the drone vanished from sight and then reappeared. Their behavior during these experiments became increasingly intriguing, suggesting a deeper instinctual understanding of the technology being tested. Outside the safety of their hidden base, the galaxy continued its inexorable spin. Unbeknownst to Hawk and her crew, a coalition of interested parties was forming, drawn together by rumors of the Rusty Venture's mysterious cargo. These parties, a mix of rogue states and private corporations, saw the potential for the archives not as a boon for humanity, but as a weapon to be wielded. The first hint of this new threat came not from Tyrell or the Federation, but from an unlikely source. Mira, monitoring communications for any unusual chatter, stumbled across encrypted transmissions pinpointing their location. "Captain, we've got company, and they're not broadcasting any IDs that match Federation or known independent operators," she reported, her voice tense. Hawk convened a hasty council with her senior crew. "We can't fend off an armed assault, not here, not without exposing more of what we've discovered. We need to evacuate," she decided, her mind racing through scenarios. But Dr. Singh proposed an alternative. "Use the technology. If we can scale up the gravitational cloak to encompass the outpost, we could hide the entire station from their sensors." It was a gamble. The power requirements alone were astronomical, and the risk of failure was high. But Hawk knew they had little choice. "Do it," she ordered, determination stealing her voice. The team worked with feverish intensity, retrofitting the gravitational technology into the outpost's power grid. As the enemy ships drew closer, a silent countdown hung over them, each moment stretching thin. Finally, with the enemy just moments from firing range, the device activated. A ripple spread through space around the outpost, bending light and matter, rendering the station effectively invisible. On the bridge of the lead hostile ship, confusion reigned. Their target had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only the cold expanse of space. "Scan the area and keep scanning until we find them," barked the commander, unwilling to return empty-handed. Back on the Rusty Venture, the crew held their breath, watching as the enemy fleet searched in vain. After hours that felt like days, the ships retreated, leaving behind a quiet victory for Hawk and her team. In the aftermath, the implications of their success were profound. They had not only averted a crisis, but it also proven that the ancient technologies could protect as well as enlighten. But each victory brought new challenges, and Hawk knew that their fight to keep the archives safe was far from over. As they prepared to leave the outpost, their path forward was clear. They would need to be smarter, more cautious, and ever vigilant in the guardianship of their cosmic inheritance. The aftermath of their narrow escape resonated deeply within Hawk as she steered the rusty venture away from the outpost. The ship, now veiled by the most advanced cloaking technology once thought to be theoretical, carved a silent path through the cosmos. Hawk's mind was a turmoil of strategies and scenarios as she contemplated their next moves. The success of their gravitational cloak had provided a temporary reprieve, but it was just that, temporary. Commander Tyrell's communications had become increasingly sporadic, each message more encoded than the last, signaling the delicate dance between official assistance and covert operations. "We've secured a rendezvous point. It's remote, outside regular patrol routes. We can guarantee some safety there to discuss the future of your findings." Tyrell's latest message had offered a flicker of hope. On board, Dr. Singh and her team were making strides in understanding more of the alien archives. They had unearthed designs for an advanced propulsion system that promised speeds surpassing even the fastest Federation light drives. The blueprints were complex, riddled with unknown symbols and equations that required reinterpretation to fit human technology paradigms. "Imagine with this technology we could reach distant galaxies in months, not years," Dr. Singh mused aloud as she adjusted the holographic display to better illustrate a particularly convoluted circuit diagram. Mira and Flint were busy implementing additional security protocols around their new knowledge. After the last close call, no one aboard wanted to risk being caught off guard again. "Every bit of data gets triple encrypted, and we keep backups hidden," Flint declared, his usual casual demeanor replaced by a hardened resolve. Meanwhile, Echo and Dusty continued to display an almost uncanny resonance with the technologies being unearthed. The creatures often stayed close to the labs, their eyes following the crew's movements with an understanding that seemed to go beyond simple curiosity. During one test of the propulsion schematics, Echo had chirped and pawed at a specific panel, which, when adjusted as the creature seemed to suggest, significantly improved the output efficiency. "They're not just passive observers, they're participants, maybe even guides in some cosmic way," Hawk remarked, watching the two alien beings interact with the equipment with a mix of awe and bewilderment. As they approached the rendezvous coordinates given by Tyrell, tension aboard the rusty venture escalated. The location was near the edge of the void expanse, a region known for its unstable wormholes and sparse population, a perfect spot for confidential meetings or ambushes. The rusty venture eased into the designated coordinates, its sensors extended to their fullest capabilities, scanning for Tyrell's ship or any signs of a trap. Minutes stretched into hours as they waited, the silence of space around them almost suffocating. Suddenly, a distortion rippled through space at the edge of their sensor range, an incoming ship, but not transmitting any Federation IFF codes. "Looks like we might have company," Flint announced, his voice tight. Hawk prepared to maneuver the ship into an evasive pattern, when another signal appeared, this one unmistakably Federation, cutting through the tension. "This is Commander Tyrell's vessel. Apologies for the delay. We had to ensure we weren't followed." With Tyrell's ship now serving as a buffer between them and the unknown vessel, Hawk allowed herself a brief sigh of relief. However, the presence of the unidentified ship remained a stark reminder of their vulnerability. The meeting with Tyrell was brief and to the point. He offered the Federation's protection in exchange for shared access to the archives, with strict controls on the dissemination of the more sensitive technologies. "We can provide a safe haven, a place to study these findings without looking over your shoulders. Think of the progress we could make for all," Tyrell urged, his eyes pleading. Hawk agreed to consider his proposal, knowing that any decision would alter the course of human exploration and possibly ignite a firestorm of political intrigue. As they parted ways, the rusty venture cloaked once more, slipping away like a ghost in the cosmic dance of light and shadow, its course uncharted but its mission clearer than ever. They would navigate this new frontier, safeguarding a legacy of stars while treading carefully in the vast, watchful universe. As the rusty venture receded from the rendezvous with Tyrell, the weight of their decision pressed heavily on the crew. Hawk's thoughts were a tangled skein of duty, risk, and the broader implications of their discovery. She walked the corridors of her ship, each step resonant with the gravity of their path forward. Within the lab, Dr. Singh and her assistant continued their relentless examination of the propulsion system blueprints, the possibilities stretching out like the unending void. "We're close to a working prototype," Dr. Singh informed Hawk, her eyes alight with a blend of fatigue and thrill. "We've adapted the alien tech with our systems. It's ready for a field test." Testing the alien propulsion system meant pushing the rusty venture beyond standard operational limits. The ship would have to jump further and faster than it or any other Federation craft had ever attempted. Flint set about preparing the ship, checking and rechecking every system, reinforcing structural integrity fields, and calibrating the energy dispersal arrays. Mira focused on ensuring that their communication lines remained secure, setting up encrypted feedback loops that would shield their test data from prying sensors. "If anyone tries to tap in, they'll end up decoding their own signals for a change," she quipped, her usual humor a welcome relief amid the tension. Meanwhile, Echo and Dusty seemed ever more perceptive of the crew's heightened activity. They often stayed close to the main console, their senses seemingly attuned to the ship's pulsing energy. During preparations, Dusty unexpectedly activated a sequence by tapping at a console with its paw, revealing a hidden subroutine in the propulsion system that dramatically increased stability. "It's as if they were meant to find us, to guide us through this," Hawk mused, watching the creatures with a mix of reverence and wonder. With everything prepared, the rusty venture positioned itself on the fringe of the Helion system, the vastness of space before them a blank canvas. Hawk gave the order, and Flint initiated the jump. Space warped around them, the stars stretching into lines of pure light as the ship slipped into faster-than-light travel. The sensation was unlike any standard jump. There was a smoothness, a silence that enveloped them as they moved through dimensions of space that felt untouched. The test was a resounding success. The rusty venture emerged at the designated coordinates, far beyond their initial estimations, with all systems stable, and the crew exhilarated by the breakthrough. "This changes everything," Dr. Singh declared, her voice a mixture of triumph and awe. "We've just traveled further in a few seconds than most would in a lifetime." But their success did not go unnoticed. Almost immediately after re-emerging from the jump, their sensors picked up an anomaly. It was not a ship or any known natural phenomenon, but a signal echoing back at them across the vast distances they had traversed. The signal was structured, unmistakably artificial, and it carried a message in a format that mirrored the archives. Hawk listened intently as the decoded message filled the air of the control room, a voice from the stars speaking in a calm, measured tone. "You have reached beyond the veils of your world. This is the first step towards a greater understanding. Be wary, be wise. Not all those who wander are lost, but many are watched." The implications of the message were clear. They were not alone in their technological leap, and their actions had attracted attention, possibly from the very civilization that had created the archives. With this new knowledge, the crew of the rusty venture faced a future filled with both promise and peril. As they charted their course back to Federation space to share their findings, each member of the crew felt the dual thrill of discovery and the chilling touch of unseen eyes upon them, watching their every move in the dance of the cosmos. Back aboard the rusty venture, Hawk convened a final crew meeting to strategize their return to Federation space. The recent message, while cryptic, underscored the vastness of their responsibilities. They were custodians of a gateway to cosmic alliances and enigmatic threats. "We've been given a gift and a warning," Hawk addressed her crew, her gaze lingering on each member. "We can't proceed without caution. Our next steps must be carefully planned, not just for our safety but for the potential future of all human spacefaring societies." Dr. Singh suggested a controlled sharing strategy. "We should collaborate with Federation scientists, but under strict oversight. We can set up a secret research base, work with a small, trusted team to further explore and develop this technology." Flint, who had been ensuring the ship's readiness for their journey back, added, "And we'll need a failsafe, something to shut down the tech if it falls into the wrong hands. We can't risk this becoming a weapon." Mira nodded in agreement, her fingers tapping on her datapad, securing their logs and data with new layers of encryption. "I'll make sure only those with the right clearance can access the full archives. Everyone else gets the sandbox version." As preparations continued, Hawk took a moment to observe Dusty and Echo. The creatures had become more than mere anomalies. They were now part of the ship's essence, their mysterious origins and understanding of the alien technology proving invaluable. They seemed to sense the gravity of the situation, their playful antics subdued as they stuck close to the crew. With the rusty Venture primed for departure, Hawk piloted the ship towards the designated Federation rendezvous point, a secluded station hidden within the Kuiper Belt. The journey was quiet, the silence of space enveloping them as a vast, contemplative void. Upon arrival, Commander Tyrell greeted them with a mixture of awe and apprehension. "I can't say I fully understand what you've brought back, but I know it's important," he said, leading them through the security protocols that would envelop their work. Together with a hand-picked team of Federation scientists and engineers, Hawk and her crew began the delicate process of integrating and studying the alien technology. The secret base, codenamed Outpost Sigma, became a beacon of new science, shielded from the eyes of the galaxy by layers of secrecy. The new propulsion system was the first project they tackled, enhancing the capabilities of Federation ships while carefully obscuring the most advanced aspects of the technology. Dr. Singh led the research, her brilliance and caution ensuring that each discovery was a step towards a brighter future. Meanwhile, Hawk kept a vigilant watch over the broader implications of their work, coordinating with Federation leaders to safeguard against the misuse of their discoveries. Her leadership had evolved from that of a salvage ship captain to a guardian of new horizons. Months turned into years, and the rusty Venture crew found themselves at the forefront of a new era. The integration of alien technologies had ushered in advancements in energy, medicine, and science, enriching human colonies and opening doors to previously unimaginable realms of exploration. Yet the universe remained a place of boundless mystery and hidden corners. Echo and Dusty, ever enigmatic, seemed to be a bridge to these mysteries, their true purpose and origin still a puzzle to be solved. As Hawk stood at a viewing port in Outpost Sigma, looking out at the starlit expanse, she reflected on their journey. They had traversed unknown dangers and grasped the threads of ancient legacies, weaving them into the fabric of human achievement. The future was a tapestry of infinite possibilities, woven with the threads of caution and curiosity, and under her watchful eye, humanity would tread carefully into the vast, waiting cosmos. In this silence of the infinite stars, Hawk felt not the end, but the beginning of humanity's true voyage into the universe's deepest secrets.